So yesterday, along with pretty much everyone in the world, I witnessed most shocking attack upon the Ukrainian president Volodymyr Zelensky. He was ambushed, attacked in the cruelest of ways, and it seemed to be quite premeditated too, by the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and his Vice President, J.D. Vance. And this is my response to it. So first up, what I witnessed on the outside was, all the people who are in my circle of, my mandala of connection, both friends, family, obviously from within the country, and friends who are outside of the country too. There was, and in myself too, like shock and outrage is probably the best way of summing it up. I was just absolutely floored by it, and the same reaction was rippling across, for everybody. Everyone was feeling the same way, like unbelievable, what occurred. I can't speak for those who are more ignorant and still believing all the lies. It's not my place to do it. I'm going to come from my position here. And then, I felt into it, and I felt, as I was watching what was happening, with Trump and Vance, basically talking over Volodymyr, and there was no way out. It was just like they pushed him into this corner, and there was absolutely nothing he could say. Like, he did his best to defend his country, and some might say he should have just said nothing. And well, he had a job to do. He was in a negotiation position, but he was just being forced into a situation where there was just no win. And you could see, he was damned either way. Like, even if he'd stayed silent, it still would have happened. Like, there's no doubt. Like, they would have just played this game and toyed with him, a couple of kids, burning ants, pulling off the wings of flies, whatever, just doing cruel things. It was an unstoppable event. And it actually sort of, I realized, wow, I've experienced exactly that in this lifetime. I worked for two very oppressive people in a school, and they would team up. One was bad cop, one was good cop kind of style. One had obviously more power, and the other one was more the J.D. Vance type one. And they would do exactly that, that if I challenged them in any way, they would corner me and use that tactic of, 2 against 1 and just talking over me. And, and all I could do, I remember I just sort of eventually, it took me a long time to work this out, a long, long time. But eventually, I remember the very last experience with these people, they were threatening me with an official warning because I took 2 days off for compassionate leave. This is the nature of these people. They believe that was a fireable offence. And anyway, so they were hauling me over the coals. And I remember I just, this was one of my final experiences with them, where I just was like, I'm not going to fight them anymore. I'm not going to do anything. And I just sat there and I let them go. I let them just launch out this all-out attack on me. And it wasn't nice to be around. It was a very, it was an unpleasant experience, but I really had to sort of center myself. And I remember I even looked over, I looked at them, and particularly the woman who was the more dominant of the two, her aura was black and red, she literally looked like a volcano. And I you could see actually physically the blood pressure rising in her body because I wasn't reacting, and she was so angry, so furious, and it was just so out of context, like it was just such an imbalanced way to behave. But I really thought she was going to die. Like, she looked like she was going to drop dead from a heart attack in that moment, or a stroke or something. It was very, very intense. And I think from that point on, I didn't last much longer at that school after 14 years of service, but I just stopped fighting. I stopped, and I realized there's nothing I can do. There is actually nothing you can do with people who are of that ilk. Nothing. There is no negotiating. You cannot trust them. They will always, they'll sort of make some sort of an agreement, and then they change their minds and, adjust it to suit their agenda. There's absolutely no trusting these kinds of people. There's no negotiating with them. It's not possible to communicate with them. There is no humanity with these kinds of people. And, what I learned was just walk away from them. Just walk away, have nothing to do with these kinds of people. It's there's no win. There's no win. And so, what do we do as a collective? How do we respond to all of this as a collective of people across the world who felt outrage? Because even though I can talk about this experience, yes, I had this experience in this lifetime, I have no doubt that, everybody else was feeling similar reactions because either they have been through it in this lifetime, or it's sitting there in the past life memories, of trauma, of being, just ganged up on and treated with, it's injustice, let's just face it, it's absolute injustice. And I have huge, that's my weakness. So I don't like seeing unjust things happen. It just, gets my blood boiling. But I just work on coming back to this place of peace and balance, and stay here within. So yeah, back to the question, how do we move forward from this? And I think we need to start working to bring our attention away from the media circus. Because, when you looked at how Trump at the end of it said, this is great TV and everything, it's kind of like, wow, you can't see, the bully that you were just exposed as being, you can't see how you've just exposed yourself in all your ugly colours. So I think there was a clue in that, that any attention is good attention. You know what I mean? Like there's some sort of all of that drama and all of that looking at them and paying attention to these sorts, they're getting off on it, and I'm really feeling like, just to withdraw the attention, bring it away and let's start looking at how can we move forward, what can we do? What are the steps we can do to ensure our democracy and to, start bringing it through and demonstrating the way to enact democracy, so that in the countries where there's no democracy at all, with the people there who want that, they can start finding a way forwards. Let's start doing it. And I think I really believe bringing the attention away from the drama, away from the circus, and focus within, get really, really focused within the self, that big in-breath, and then the out-breath, and saying, how can I work with my community, my immediate community, my wider community, my family community, my friends, my spheres, my nation, this world, like how can we work together? So I'll leave it there. That's enough said. Bring that attention away from them, away. Bring it within, get focused.